What's going on, everyone? Welcome in to the College Football DFS podcast, back for another slate, the night slate for week 2. If you missed it, go check out me and Pete's breakdown of the main slate, the afternoon one for DraftKings and FanDuel. Here we're doing the night slate. Go check out fantasyalarm.com, by the way, for the night slate playbook that Pete will have out to accompany this and give you some more in-depth explanations on his favorite players and all that. And if you're listening to this before the main slate started, go check out the main slate playbook as well. But Pete, welcome back. We're here for another slate. This one's gonna be interesting. A lot of DraftKings. So by the way, we're gonna focus on DraftKings like we did the other slate, but obviously the slates are all different between FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever you're playing on. So make sure you know which games are going on which ones. But Pete, how you doing? You ready for this slate? A lot of value is what I was gonna say on DraftKings.
Yeah, what's up, Danny? What's up, everybody else? And I like this slate, actually. And I need to be playing these 7 p.m. slates more because last year it seemed like I did much better on 7 p.m. than I did the main. Maybe because I did the playbook. I don't know. But I was doing the playbook tonight, and it's started coming. There's a lot of plays I really like, and a lot of, I think, free squares, values.
Yeah.
There's only one difference. It's Michigan games and FanDuel, and I pretty much only like the running backs at Michigan games. They're really cheap on FanDuel, so I guess we can bring out the running backs. But I like the slate a lot. My Syracuse Orange are in it. They were awesome last week with their new OC, and now they go to UConn, which should be the GOAT, Sean Tucker. So they should have a big game there. But
Yeah.
I like it. I really do like the slate. There's some real exciting players, some good quarterbacks, and we have some high scores tomorrow too.
Yeah, there's some big totals on this night slate for sure. But you mentioned some of the games that are kind of the one-offs on FanDuel and DraftKings. By the way, that FanDuel, of course, has their full-day slate, the main slate, with 3 or 4 night games added in there. So make sure you're paying attention to that if you want to combine your all-day exposure there. But the FanDuel slate has, I think, he's mentioned the Michigan game. Nebraska game is the other one-off there.
That's what it's Nebraska. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then DraftKings has the Auburn game and Tulsa, Northern Illinois.
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
But for the most part, I mean, you got the other ones. The main games are all there, and some of those top totals we were talking about. But yeah. So let's start with quarterback. The 2 top guys for DraftKings pricing, Dylan Gabriel and Caleb Williams. Probably have to choose between them, but you definitely want one of these guys, right, for cash. I mean, they're really expensive, but you mentioned these high totals, and they are the cream of the crop at quarterback for this night slate.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at implied. I got Oklahoma at 52.75, and then USC at 38. But and I'm leaning Gabriel, and I'm hoping that the masses go toward Caleb Williams. And I have no problem with Caleb Williams either. But just I'm a Gabriel guy. Saw him at UCF a lot. Big game last week. So what do you have? 233 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he really did not that great of a game. So there were some minor issues in that passing game last week that he's taken care of. So there was some protection flaws. There was a couple times receivers were not on the same page as Gabriel. So that's an issue. And there's one other issue is Kent State does play like an Iowa State type defense, and Oklahoma does have issues with that type of defense. But Dylan Gabriel, to me, is a gunslinger. He said, what did he do at UCF? I just had him up. UCF, 8,000 yards, 70 touchdowns, only 14 interceptions.
Yeah.
Probably more of a GPP play, but I am leaning Dylan Gabriel over Williams up top there.
Okay.
But Williams had a good, as I'm talking, Williams had a good game. I didn't realize that his completion percentage last week, 86.3, was the best for a USC quarterback with a minimum of 20 passes in more than a decade. And one of those incompletions was a drop, actually. So, and the other 2 were pretty difficult throws.
This happens when you play a Rice defense.
Well, that's true, too. He's playing Rice. So, get to see Jordan Addis in that game, too, which I think he's got a really good matchup on the other side. Really good defensive back he's going up against.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm leaning Dylan Gabriel in that spot, but probably more of a GPP. Like we were talking last night on the main slate, I'm probably going a little bit cheaper. I'm going to go a little bit cheaper quarterback, like 2 quarterbacks this week, I think.
Okay, well that's why we're talking it through because so then those cheaper quarterbacks, Davis Brin, Spencer Sanders, Garrett Schrader, Anthony Richardson on 6,800 on DraftKings is pretty nice there. Is that the guy you're looking at, or are you looking at Davis Brin? That Tulsa Northern Illinois total was really high and probably going to be a back and forth shootout there, but on the DraftKings slate at least. But I don't know. Richardson compared, is that the guy you're talking about? Maybe go cheaper.
Yeah, I'm looking at, and good call those. I think Brink could be one of those guys that could come out of nowhere and be very low owned and run the slate. But Spencer Sanders, just great game last week. To me, he just either gets hurt when I play him. I just can't see him doing it 2 weeks in a row. But to me, Anthony Richardson is my guy this week.
Yeah.
Pretty much him and Schrader, because last week I planted my flag on Richardson and he get it. Now he gets a really good matchup against Will Levis. So you're pretty much looking at two of the top passers in the 2023 draft classes, Levi, Richardson, I think. And you get Richardson dual threat. I mean, he was awesome last week. Big upset against Utah. Showed how athletic he is, so how versatile he is. He's a playmaker. 24 168 in the air, but he ran for 3 scores on 106 yards. And he had a really good. Most of his runs around broken down passes, but he had that 45-yard dash down the left sideline. I mean, that's like primetime TV for me. So Richardson is the main play for me, I think, this week at quarterback, and he's got to pass more, because that Kentucky front seven is a little bit better though this week. But I'm already seeing Heisman hype here. It's in full gear for A-Rich right now. So if he smashes tonight or tomorrow night, everybody's been talking about him. I think he's a good spot. I think he's a really good spot. Maybe he's a Florida guy, but A-Rich is my main guy.
Yeah, Richardson has been, all of a sudden. I mean, he was already good before last week, but that performance last week, he's getting Heisman hype. He's shot up NFL draft boards. And yeah, it's like him as kind of him and Levi's as like the third or fourth quarterbacks right behind Young and Stroud, I think, for the draft prospects. But people are saying Richardson could go. I mean, if he keeps this up, his Heisman odds are going to keep shortening for sure. So
totally, and I also think that Levi's, he kind of looked the part last week too. 303 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, once again, a blowout game, but
he's really cheap on DraftKings.
What's his, like, Richardson, 6'8", and you look at FanDuel, he's 10'6". My guy Garrett Schrader, 7'5" on FanDuel. I think Schrader's the most expensive quarterback on FanDuel at 11'5",
which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Now Schrader should not be higher or more expensive than Dylan Gabriel, Caleb Williams, some of these guys. But I guess I'll get right to him. I think Schrader's my number 2, and
okay.
Robert, what do you pronounce it? Robert and I mean, he came in as advertised, the new OC.
Yeah.
Schrader answered a lot of questions about his ability against Louisville last Saturday night. He was totally in charge. He was accurate. I think he completed 72% of his passes. And he looked to me like a total field general out there, over 440 total yards, and I was even with a bunch of drops. So I think it's like two or three drops. So if he can throw like that all season, Syracuse is going to have one of the most dynamic offenses in the ACC. He's never going to be an elite thrower, but he's got the legs to do it. And
he does, yeah.
That new offense, man, they got Sean Tucker in the receiving game, which Louisville had no answer for, and they also got the tight ends involved. They got the middle of the field involved, pretty much in general, and those stretch runs, they got Tucker out in space. So they played really well this week, and now they're going up against UConn, where I think UConn's going to keep a little bit closer to than a lot of people think. So I think we got a little bit of a game here.
Yeah.
And I think he's top play DK, more of a GPP play on FanDuel.
Okay. UConn's a little bit, they're definitely improved from last year.
They're good running back, which you'll mention in a second, actually.
And Louisville, I mean, good for Schrader getting 2 easy matchups in a row, because Louisville's defense looked terrible last week, and I don't know if that's more on the Syracuse offense or Louisville's defense, because right now when we're recording this, they're playing UCF, and UCF looks like they could pretty much do whatever they want on offense.
No, what's wrong with Malik too? I mean, Malik is not.
Yeah, I understand that. They might be like one of those disappointing teams this year. It's kind of looking like.
I think you're right.
I mean, only scoring 7 points last week against Syracuse was bad.
Syracuse get beat by UConn this week now.
Right? UConn will probably put up more points than Louisville did last week.
I think they are. I think they got a decent. They got a decent little team.
Yeah. I do like that with Schrader. By the way, on FanDuel, I was just looking over at their slate. Caleb Williams is he's far down on the pricing list. He's below Casey Thompson, Richardson, Sanders, Gabriel. I think he's sixth among the quarterbacks. So
you're playing him there. On FanDuel, you're playing him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, he's way priced differently on DraftKings. All right. Well, any other quarterbacks you're looking at? Phil Jurkovich is very cheap on DraftKings.
Jurko, however you want to say it, is back. I've always been a fan of his. Who actually I put in a playbook is Colin Schlee from Kent State, and he's got big shoes to fill. He's going to make his second college start.
Mm-hmm.
Now this time against Oklahoma. Who was it last week? They did Washington. I give Kent State credit. They're going to get some big time teams here. So he's filling the vacancy left by Dustin Crum, who was an all-MAC quarterback.
Yeah.
But he's got all the intangibles, 6'3", 220, a really powerful arm. He's got some of the same quality as Dustin Crum, even though I remembered him last season, even though a lot of his reps were against second-string defenses. He's still like 71% completion percentage. But most noticeable was his maneuverability across the field with that mobility, which is a must in Sean Lewis, that flash. What they call it, flash fast offense.
Yeah,
they need that type of quarterback, which Crum was perfection at. So I think Schlee's. It's going to be a lot of points. They're playing from behind. He's a runner. He led all ball carriers last week at 47 yards. So playing from behind with some negative regret, I guess a negative game script you'd call it, right?
Yeah.
So I could see Colin Schlee at only 5'4". I'm going to be taking him over some of the other guys down, even Cordero or San Jose State, even Emory Jones. I think Colin Schlee is going to be a sneaky player, GPP only, but I have no problem playing Colin Schlee at 5'4".
Yeah, no, I like that for sure. This total in the Oklahoma-Kent State game is in the 70s now. 72, I think I last saw it.
I see it, 72.5.
Yeah, that is a lot. And the jury's still out on what Oklahoma's defense is going to be this year. I mean, they got Brent Venables in there, but I don't know how much better they're going to be overall. They were good last week, but I want to see them do it for a couple stretches, and who knows? Kent State might make this interesting. Like you mentioned, their offense. I mean, they have the kind of the scheme on offense to make it to run up some scores and make it a higher scoring game. But
who knows? I mean, a good coach for this type of game too.
Yeah. And last week they scored 20 points against Washington. Washington's defense might be better than Oklahoma this year. Who knows? I mean. Because Oklahoma's defense, it's a big step to ask them to be so much better than they were last year, and it was rough at times. So we'll see.
Agreed.
All right. Well, then, so those are your quarterbacks there. Let's go to the running back position. Sean Tucker, 9,400 on DraftKings, your most expensive running back. Hard to pay that, right? And I mean, Syracuse you were just talking about Syracuse offense should be good against UConn here, should have a ton of success, but I think that's really hard to pay in cash, and especially when you have Tank Bigsby, 2,000 less on DraftKings, right?
Yeah. So honestly, I haven't made a lineup yet, but the first lineup I make, I'm gonna try to get Sean Tucker in there.
Okay.
I mean, once again, maybe I'm a homer, but to me, I mean, Sean Tucker's the GOAT. I mean, to me, he's. I mean, look how good he was last week. Last week he showed that NFL caliber acceleration. It was like 55-yard screen pass. He just took off, showed a lot of power, a bunch of runs between the tackles. He was elusive when he got to the second level. So everything we expect to see from Sean Tucker and more. So and now we have this new receiving threat in there. So that's going to be a definite problem for opposing offenses. And so he led Syracuse in rushing yards and receiving yards while scoring 2 touchdowns. It's kind of a nice start for your Heisman. So,
and 27 touches. I love seeing that. I mean,
that's what I mean. So I'm almost to the point where, and that's where I'm going to go. I would rather go cheaper at quarterback and go with some of these cheaper guys like a Richardson and Schrader and Nix and Gabriel and William and try to get to me. Sean Tucker is because honestly, there's not one other running back to me that is a must play. Like I agree with the Bigsby price, but Eric Gray still does. I don't think Eric Gray's that great. But I did write him up. I think Tucker is the one must play, but it's going to be tough. You're right. It's going to be tough to get him at 9-4.
Well, yeah, we'll get to some cheap receivers, and like you mentioned, the cheaper quarterbacks where you can get him into a lineup, I think. Have enough value elsewhere. So I guess with your second running back, you're trying to look for some value there. What are some of the cheaper running backs you're looking at?
Gray's probably Gray's 6'9". Gray could be in play. One guy is, and I was on him last week, he didn't do that well, was Kabosi Smoke, mainly because right now Kentucky's running back group is down on 2 players from 5.
Yeah,
so
right.
Chris Rodriguez isn't playing yet. Ramon Jefferson blew his ACL. He's a former FCS All-American. He's done. Juthon McLean's not playing. So that leaves Smoke and Lavelle Wright. And Smoke, was the RB1, was a starter. She had supposed to get a really good camp, fought harder to camp to get that RB1 status with Rodriguez out. He carried the ball 7 times last week, 2 receptions. I think he's in a good spot because Florida allowed 230 yards on the ground last week, 5.9 yards per carry. He didn't impress me last week. I played him, I liked him, so I think Smoke's in a good spot at $5K.
Yeah, that's a good price.
And then I think he's going to be very, very low owned. Is I mentioned earlier, Nathan Carter from UConn. That's kind of my wild card play.
Wow, nice.
Check these numbers. It's in the first 2 games, he's gone over 100 yards on the ground both times. So on the road against Utah State, 190 yards, 20 carries. Last week, he rushed 23 times, 123 yards in a score. So he's averaging in a elite 170.5 all-purpose yards per game, 7.3 yards per carry. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good.
And the SU defensive line it's good, but it's young. They had a big issue last week. They lost Stephon Thompson for the season, injury. So Carter may actually be more of a threat than most people think. So I'm looking at Nathan Carter at that price. What's his price?
$4,900 on DraftKings.
Okay, so I like that price. You got Smoke at $5K. Even I think Eric Gray 6'9" is probably a reasonable price. I think he's the man now, right? I mean, with Kennedy Brooks an Eagle now, I think they all thought he was going to be the guy last year, but he's kind of limited role. I think though, what do you have last year? 102 yards. So
yeah,
maybe he's finally going to be the player they're all expecting from Tennessee. He's a big play back. He's elusive. He's got the big play ability, especially he can make plays after contact. But I'm not sure if you can get to him if you play Tucker. You probably can't get the Bigsby.
Yeah, it's a tough price to pay. If you don't play Tucker, you could play Gray. But they're using Marcus Major. They did it a lot last week, and they'll probably still do it going forward. Just a 2-back system there, even though Gray he's the lead guy.
I think, right?
Yeah, Major had 2 touchdowns I think last week.
Yep.
But I like your call about Smoke and Carter. I wanted to ask you quickly about just 2 other cheap guys in that same range, because looking over in FanDuel, I keep saying it, but the slates are just different. If you're playing, you have to make different lineup choices, because over on FanDuel,
you're playing Donovan Edwards on FanDuel.
Well, so yeah, Carter is more expensive than Donovan Edwards. He's more expensive than Xavier Valladay or some of these other guys. Like Travis Dye is lower there, but he's priced way up on DraftKings, so like things like that. But 2 guys that are they're priced up on FanDuel, but pretty I think affordable on DraftKings. EJ Smith for Stanford had a big game last week. I mean, this USC Stanford game could go back and forth, just feature a ton of scoring on both sides, and maybe Stanford kind of leads on the ground to slow the game down more and keep the ball out of the USC's offense hands there. So I think Smith is interesting. And then King for Virginia Tech. I mean, this will be a low total against Boston College, but Keyshawn King was the lead back last week in that loss to ODU, but he still had a good game.
They both have big games, right?
Yeah, the lead back for Virginia Tech is out Thomas, right? Malachi Thomas, yeah. So he's
I kind of forgot about Malachi Thomas.
I know he was out last week, and he's doubtful.
He's doubtful this week too. Yeah. That's why I kind of forgot about him.
They'll probably hold him out again. So, but both those guys, I mean, just very affordable on DraftKings, right?
King's only 5K. He had 111.
Yeah.
Probably lean more EJ Smith. Smith had a really good game last week. So he had what? So okay, 5 target. Yeah, 11 for what? 118.
Yeah, they played Colgate, so it's like but kind of temper expectations. But this is a guy he flashed in the past with Stanford, but Stanford was bad, so it was like, all right, what does he have? I mean,
he's been around forever. It seems like.
I know, right? It's if people don't know, by the way, and DraftKings has a little write up there. It is Emmitt Smith's son, so just take that into account.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah, I forgot about that honestly because he hasn't been that relevant for DFS, but yeah. So he's got those genes.
And what I really like about EJ Smith, you see the 5 targets, 5 receptions for 37.
Right. Yeah.
11 carries. So yeah, I would lean Smith over King. King get any targets last week? I don't think so. No, he did 3 targets, so 3 receptions, 18.
Yeah.
So I would lean Smith, but either of them are decent plays. Like I said, Nathan Carter to me is more of a wild card, more of a gut play, as I think he's playing really well. And Syracuse defense is not exactly but either one of those guys could slide right in there for Nathan Carter too.
Yeah. And they just being maybe playing at better teams overall than people might think than UConn, they'll probably be more popular, right, than Carter. So
yeah, definitely. I'm seeing Jordan Ford catching some ownership, some early projections. He's the number 2 at Tulsa, which I don't get unless I'm missing something. Now Ford only had just a mediocre game last week, but I'm seeing some projections with him like 20% owned. Maybe because he's 3K.
Huh.
I honestly don't know much about Jordan Ford. I did some research earlier, but I was trying to figure out why he was being so popular. But it's got to just be the price. Touched the ball 7 times, 26 yards. That's it last week against Wyoming.
That's kind of weird. Yeah.
Now NIU, it's NIU.
Well, Tulsa's like a pass focused offense. So
definitely.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go there. Maybe just because of the high total, they're like, oh, he could rush for 2 touchdowns. Who knows?
I guess he's only 3K minimum, but no, I'm saying that's why I'll lean more to like a Nathan Carter or like EJ Smith, one of those kind of calls.
Yeah.
Keyshawn King.
Yeah. All right, let's go to receiver then. So we got Jordan Addison at the top for DraftKings pricing, 9,300. Really tough to pay that too, especially if you want to try to get Sean Tucker in there, or if you're playing Gabriel or Caleb Williams. But people might try to stack Williams and Addison. It's just gonna be really hard the rest of your lineup. We're talking about some of these values, but eventually you gotta figure things out there. I think that's tough.
I hope people do actually, because it's gonna. That's eat up a lot of money. And
right?
Hey, nothing wrong. Jordan Addison is one of a lot of money over the years, and there was concern about his targets because Lincoln Riley could be he was a little bit finicky at Oklahoma, but that's what the rest last week. He had 26 snaps, 5 targets, which is 19.2%, a lot of snaps. So so definitely in play. But what concerns me is he's got a matchup on the other side. He's got a shutdown corner. Caillou Blue Kelly.
Yeah.
Now, that's Brian Kelly's son, right? So Brian Kelly's son. And this kid is good. He's big. He's physical. He frustrates little receivers like Addison. So I'm curious to see how Addison reacts. Which Addison's a guy, dependable hands. He's real explosive. I think that's going to be one of the better showdowns of the week. Caillou Blue Kelly versus Jordan Addison. And that's more or less going to make Addison right there more of a GPP play for me. This kid's good. This kid's a good, she's a good shutdown corner.
Yeah, No, I like that. I like that call a lot. So I guess let's just talk about USC's receiving core real quick, because then, if that's the case, then maybe you're looking at some of the other guys. And last week they didn't do a whole lot outside of Addison.
Taj Washington, whatever happened to him, he's only 3K.
Yeah, why? Yeah, he's priced badly.
Did he play? What did he do last week?
I didn't watch any of that game because it was against Rice, and I was just like,
I didn't either. So last week he had 4 receptions, 65 yards, 5 targets. So why is he only 3K?
I don't know. I mean, I would assume maybe. Well, it's DraftKings, first of all. Second of all, I think maybe I'm not sure, but did he not play? Was he not like a starting receiver? Did he not play with the starters? Maybe I'm not sure. He might be. He might just be behind. You know, I know like Gary Bryant Jr. was like a starter, but he didn't like do much. And
he's been around. He's not one. If we can make a team, this guy's been around for like 6 years.
I know, right? Well, that's the thing with this extra year of eligibility and the transfer portal. Like, the COVID year really messed things up. So everyone's getting like 5-6 years of eligibility now.
I have Bryant right now listed as WR6. That's not half a mess. So I would take a chance on Taj Washington. And no, if I had to, GPPs. Why not? I guess Mario Williams would be the guy, but he's 6'2".
Yeah, he's priced a little too high for my liking.
Yeah. So where else do you go?
I think Taj Washington. Washington will probably be popular. I mean, 3K is crazy.
And I didn't even see him, and I'm seeing him at very low ownership projections. I'm only seeing Addison like 15%. I'm seeing Taj like around 3 to 4%, and Mario like 8.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm probably staying away. If I played anybody, it would be Taj and take a chance.
Okay.
Especially a lot of points are scored, I guess.
All right. Well, then the rest of the high-priced receivers, where are you going with these guys? I mean, by the way, the Tulsa receivers, we were talking about that game. I mean, you got Santana and Stokes being really high up. I would like to play one of them, but I just don't know how you get there.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, and then when you got a guy like Dante Cephas, a couple grand more. So what? Stokes is 7'6", Santana's 7'9", and I'm probably looking at. I wrote up as of now. I'm not done receivers. I wrote up Marvin Mims first.
Okay.
I just think he's another one. He's explosive. I mean, last week we saw the vintage Marvin Mims, 3 catches, 81 yards, 4 targets. But last year, Kent State allowed the most first downs per game, 26.4 in the nation. And that last week they allowed 393 passing yards, which pretty much that's in Mims' wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So he should be able to exploit this defense, and he is their best deep threat. I was expecting a much bigger gain than he had last week, the 3 catches for 81. I probably lean Mims over Stokes and Santana, but they're definitely play all those guys the same range.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing Mims a little bit higher owned in projections as those guys. And then you got Cephas sitting there for Kent State, but T.J. Robinson, I think, is gonna be my guy. I think Robinson.
I was gonna get to him because
I
wanted to give you a shout out real quick, and I gave you a shout out in the Prize Picks article that I wrote for Fantasy Alarm because I saw you throw out his Prize Picks prop 4.5 receptions out early in the week, and I immediately went and looked and just kind of dove into it. And I was like, "Yep, this is a good call." and included it, but made sure to give you a shout out in that Prize Picks article because he's the guy now without Wan'Dale Robinson, right? I mean, he comes in and just takes over as Will Levi's top target, and especially without Chris Rodriguez playing, I feel like they're gonna try to get the ball in his hands as much as possible.
Especially the way Smoke did not play that great last week. And I played Smoke and Robinson. I think that Kentucky was looking for that explosive playmaker on the outside to replace Wan'Dale. And a lot of people didn't think that Tavion was it. I did, and I really think he's kind of a catalyst now for Scandrell's offense, and I think he's going to be an NFL player too.
This is a perfect example, by the way, of DraftKings. Just he should not be 5,100 after he was 5,700 last week, and
he dropped.
Had 6 catches for 136.
No way. Zay Flowers is more. I don't mind Zay Flowers, but I think that. Well, I'm seeing Zay Flowers right now is
really high, cheap. Yeah.
And he's really high projected. His ownership's around over 30%. I'm seeing. So.
I mean, he went off last week. Yeah.
And he did. Yeah, he did. So between Zay Flowers and Tavion, maybe you play both of them. Who would you? I'd rather play Flowers and Tavion maybe than the Tulsa guys.
I think you could play both, and that's how you would pay up for running backs or quarterbacks.
Sean Tucker.
Yeah, that's how you get Sean Tucker in the lineup.
Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson is about as old as I am. Seems like he's still playing. Jeez, he's 5'3". I think he's been 5'3" for years.
I mean, he's an option on the slate. But you mentioned Cephas. I like him for Kent.
Yeah, Cephas would be my guy if I was going to go anywhere.
Okay.
It would probably be Cephas.
Yeah, there's a lot of good mid-range guys. I feel like the ownership percentages are going to be spread out between these guys, right? I mean,
I think they are. Right now, I'm seeing Cephas and Flowers, the top two guys. I don't know what a mid is. Big. Another name that's catching love is Devontae Walker, because he's only 3K. But I don't understand. So what did Walker do last week? So, he had 6 targets, so he's 456 with a touchdown. So I guess you're getting a piece of that Kent State offense real cheap at 3K.
Yeah, I mean,
you think about it. You get a guy 3K that last week had 6 targets, had a touchdown. Yeah, I guess that's why he's a little bit popular. Yes.
What happened? Is Deshaun Polk hurt? What is going on there?
He's hurt, right?
Is he hurt? I don't know. He didn't play. He doesn't have any stats from last week. I didn't. I was not paying attention to their game last week, but
let me see. Yeah, that's right. Now he's got no stats at all.
Yeah,
and that's why listed as.
Yeah, obviously he didn't play, but I wasn't watching to see if he was hurt or what.
I kind of forgot about Deshaun Polk.
Right. I actually think he must have not played, because I think what they do is they give him a 0 fantasy points if you actually played and you didn't get any. So
just said he did not play.
Yeah.
Game chattered about. Oh, now they're making me pay. They're making me pay for the article. All I saw was why John Polk did not play against the Huskies, and it says pay for your article.
You got to pay for the journalism, man.
That's looking good. I'm gonna have to look into that though. Now I'm gonna have to find out the answer to that.
Any other receivers you're looking at?
Not really. No, I want to get Tavion in there. He's probably my guy. I may go like Tavion and Flowers and try to get like Sean Tucker and then the quarterbacks I talked about. I think.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
I mean, definitely. So once again, and Cephas and those guys too. Elijah Cook's another one I think. Elijah Cooks, I think, is a place. Another one, he's only 3.6 for San Jose State.
San Jose State, yeah. I mean, I feel like he could catch a bunch of passes in garbage time, and come through for you. But there's always the risk of just playing anybody as big underdogs against an SEC school. So there's that part to it. But
I made a mistake last week. I think I played, and I had a pretty good main lineup for 7 p.m. But I played Justin Shorter. As my one dart, and then he didn't 4 targets, couple receptions, but he didn't really come through. I just had a funny feeling Justin Shorter was going to be. That's true. It was what we didn't even bring him up. Who the receiver for Florida? Pearsall. Pearsall had. Ricky Pearsall had a good game last week. And what's he now? He's 5'4" this week. Pearsall looked really good out there. He's pretty much taken over that team. So Pearson would be another one I want to dig in a little bit more that I may end up playing. So last week, 4 receptions, 67 yards, 5 targets.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona State transfer.
Yep.
By the way, this is like a non-stat thing, but I always love when a transfer comes in, or a freshman for that matter, and has either the number 0 or number 1, because they're just like they're that guy.
Yep.
Just coming in and like he's getting number 1 on that team because actually we're recording this during UCF's game against Louisville, and Javon Baker from the Alabama transfer comes in and gets number 1 for UCF, and he's that guy for them.
Yeah, and he had a good game last week too.
Yeah, he's good. He just needed to get away from Bama.
Definitely. Yep, he's a talented kid. It looks like Malik is kind of make a little drive here. Just do a 37-yard pass to Tyler Hudson. Looks like so they're driving right now. UCF 15.
Yeah,
at least got something, man.
Yeah, we got a short Friday night slate. We got some bigger slates coming up on Fridays and Thursdays, so that'll be good. But, all right, man.
Well, Bowser 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Bowser's good. I guess we're gonna wrap this up, man. Any final thoughts on the night slate? Plays that you're definitely looking at or definitely fading or.
I think, like I said, I'm going to try to go cheaper at quarterback. I like Richardson. I just don't want my heart to get me in trouble with Syracuse. But right now, I'm looking at Richardson and Schrader. If I can get Sean Tucker in there, I'm going to roll him. And then I'm looking like a Tavion Robinson, Zay Flower, something like that. And I should be able to put that together. But I almost think Sean Tucker is Sean Tucker is the Brees Hall. Brees Hall, he'd be expensive. I always played him last week. So.
Oh yeah, lock him in. Yeah, it was like I don't care how expensive he is. I'm playing
exactly.
Brees Hall.
And now that he's catching the ball, I guess you have the blowout factor with UConn, but that spread is pretty. That's not a crazy spread. What's the spread there? It's only.
It wasn't like
3.5.
Yeah, this isn't like a 35-point spread or anything.
No, they're playing at UConn, so you may see Tucker play the whole game and. I almost think you almost have to have him, and that's. I'm going to try to build a lineup with him if I can't. But on FanDuel, I really like the Donovan Edwards price for Michigan because I just think Hawaii is Hawaii's a bad run defense, extremely weak. You can play him or Corum, but Corum's so expensive. If I'm playing FanDuel, I'm building Donovan Edwards as my main lineup.
Yeah, until they start pricing Corum and Edwards similarly, it's always Edwards over Corum for now.
Yep.
Yeah, because they're splitting that work. By the way, on the FanDuel site on the night slate, you get Nebraska's offense, and they're playing Georgia Southern. I feel like you could definitely look at some of these guys like Trey Palmer or Anthony Grant has been really good so far. So Casey Thompson too. So I think they're in play, but. Probably go.
I played Casey Thompson week 0 as my main quarterback. I thought I had something special there, but didn't work out.
He's not Kenny Pickett, apparently. Who would have thought?
Kenny Pickett, my man. That's my favorite. That's my favorite college football quarterback for 3 years there. So.
Oh yeah, he was fun to play for sure.
Yep.
All right, well, awesome seeing you again, Pete, and check out Pete's Night Slate playbook, written version for Fantasy Alarm, if you haven't checked that out, and subscribe to the All Pro subscription to get NFL DFS and college football DFS all season long. So
we'll be in Discord tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be in the Discord when you guys are watching this and stuff. Build some lineups for the Night Slate or the main slate, and check out all of our coverage at Fantasy Alarm. All right. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck,
see you guys.